Season 1, Ned Stark's Honor and the Birth of Dragons. The story begins in the icy north where the Stark family rules Winterfell with honor and tradition. Lord Eddard. Ned Stark is a man defined by duty and honesty, raising his children, Robb, the heir, Sansa, graceful and dreaming of fairy tale romance, Arya, rebellious and wild, Bran, curious and adventurous, Rickon, still just a boy, and Jon Snow, his illegitimate son who bears the stigma of being a bastard. Their lives seem steady, built on loyalty and love, until a royal visit changes everything. King Robert Baratheon, Ned's old friend from rebellion days, rides north with his queen, Cersei Lannister, her twin brother Jaime, and their dwarf brother Tyrion. Robert asks Ned to serve as Hand of the King, replacing Jon Arryn, who died under mysterious circumstances. Reluctantly and against Catelyn's wishes, Ned accepts, believing it his duty. He sets off to King's Landing with his daughters Sansa and Arya, while Jon joins the Night's Watch at the Wall, seeking purpose in black. King's Landing, however, is no place for honor. Ned quickly uncovers dark secrets. Jon Arryn was murdered, and the royal children, Joffrey, Myrcella, and Tommen, are not Robert's at all, but the offspring of Cersei and her twin Jaime. Before Ned can expose the truth, Robert is mortally wounded during a hunt. Chaos erupts when Joffrey claims the throne. Ned, hoping to protect his daughters, seeks support from Peter Littlefinger Baelish, a man he believes to be an ally. But betrayal comes swiftly. Littlefinger turns on him, and Ned is imprisoned. Instead of mercy, young King Joffrey shocks the realm with a brutal decision. Ned Stark is executed publicly, his head severed as Sansa watches in horror, while Arya barely escapes into the streets disguised as a boy. The honorable Hand of the King dies, and with him the last illusion of peace in Westeros. Meanwhile, Jon Snow learns the harsh realities of the Night's Watch. At the Wall, he befriends Samwell Tarly, a timid but loyal recruit, and begins to sense that the old legends are true. The White Walkers and their army of the dead are stirring beyond the frozen wilderness. Across the Narrow Sea, the last Targaryens live in exile. Daenerys is forced into marriage with Khal Drogo, leader of the Dothraki. What begins as a powerless, humiliating union transforms into strength as Daenerys finds her voice. When Drogo dies, she walks into his funeral pyre with 3 dragon eggs. At dawn, she emerges alive, with 3 newborn dragons clinging to her. The world has changed forever, and the Game of Thrones has truly begun. Season 2, The Clash of Kings and the Rise of Shadows. The realm fractures in the wake of Ned Stark's shocking death. His eldest son, Robb Stark, rallies the North in open rebellion, declared king in the North by his bannermen. Robb proves himself a brilliant young commander, winning battle after battle against the Lannisters, even capturing Jaime Lannister as his prisoner. The North rises with pride, but victory comes with its own complications, as alliances must be forged and loyalties tested. Far to the south, the Iron Throne becomes the prize for many claimants. 2 of Robert Baratheon's brothers, Renly and Stannis, each declare themselves the true king. Renly, charismatic and charming, wins the loyalty of the powerful Tyrell family, with Margaery Tyrell at his side. Stannis, by contrast, is hard and unyielding, winning few friends but holding firm to his sense of duty. His fortunes change with the arrival of Melisandre, a mysterious red priestess devoted to the Lord of Light. Through her dark power, a shadowy creature is birthed and sent into Renly's camp, assassinating him in the dead of night. His death stuns the realm, scattering his followers and clearing the way for Stannis to press his claim. In King's Landing, the young King Joffrey rules with cruelty, delighting in torment and violence, while his mother, Cersei, and his grandfather, Tywin, maneuver in the shadows. Amidst this chaos, Tyrion Lannister is appointed Hand of the King. Using his sharp wit and quick thinking, Tyrion roots out plots, strengthens the city's defenses, and even dares to stand up to his cruel nephew. His moment of brilliance comes when Stannis launches a massive assault on the capital. The Battle of Blackwater Bay becomes a defining clash, with wildfire unleashed in a terrifying green explosion that destroys much of Stannis' fleet. Though Tywin and the Tyrells arrive to secure victory, it is Tyrion's cunning that saves the city, though he receives little thanks for it. Meanwhile, far to the north, Jon Snow ventures beyond the Wall with the Night's Watch. He meets the free folk, the wildlings, and begins to understand their way of life, realizing they are not simply enemies. But an older, greater threat looms. The White Walkers are stirring, and their army of the dead grows larger with each passing night. Across the Narrow Sea, Daenerys Targaryen journeys to Korth. She learns painful lessons about betrayal and power when her beloved dragons are stolen. With fire and fury, she reclaims them, proving that she is no helpless exile. Though still far from Westeros, the whispers of her dragons echo louder and her destiny continues to take shape. The Iron Throne may rest under Joffrey's cruel hand, but the realm is shattered, and across the world, new powers are rising. Season 3, Love, Vengeance, and the Red Wedding. The War of the Five Kings rages on, tearing Westeros apart. Robb Stark, the young king in the north, continues to win victories against the Lannisters, proving himself a capable commander. Yet, his success on the battlefield cannot shield him from political missteps. Bound by a pact to marry a daughter of Walder Frey, Robb instead follows his heart and weds Talisa, a healer from the battlefield. His choice angers the Freys and sows dangerous seeds of betrayal. His mother, Catelyn, urges caution and desperately tries to preserve their fragile alliances, but with every passing day, cracks begin to show in the Stark cause. In King's Landing, the game of politics grows ever more treacherous. Tyrion Lannister, despite his wit and past service, finds himself a pawn in his father Tywin's schemes, forced into a political marriage with the young Sansa Stark. Sansa, trapped in a golden cage, suffers quietly under the Lannisters' thumb. Meanwhile, Cersei schemes to maintain her influence as the Tyrells rise in prominence. Margaery Tyrell proves herself a master of charm and strategy, wrapping Joffrey in her web while earning the love of the people. Tywin, cold and calculating, ensures that the Lannisters' grip on power grows tighter, no matter the cost. Far across the narrow sea, Daenerys Targaryen steps into her own power. At Astapor, she shocks the slavers by revealing her command of High Valyrian and turns their cruelty against them. With a single command, she frees the Unsullied, thousands of disciplined warrior slaves, and claims their loyalty not through fear, but choice. Her dragons, larger and fiercer, become symbols of her unstoppable rise. From Astapor to Yunkai, Daenerys tears down chains and takes cities, earning her the title of Liberator as much as Conqueror. Yet in Westeros, darkness gathers. Jon Snow infiltrates the ranks of the Wildlings, struggling with his duty to the Night's Watch and his love for the fiery Ygritte. Bran Stark, haunted by visions of a three-eyed raven, journeys beyond the wall in search of answers to his mysterious powers. Arya Stark roams the war-torn countryside, edging ever closer to vengeance, hardened by all she has lost. Then comes the most shocking night of all, the Red Wedding, promised safety at the twins. Robb, Catelyn, Talisa, and their men attend what begins as a celebration of peace. Instead, it becomes a massacre. Walder Frey and Rose Bolton, in league with the Lannisters, slaughter the Starks and their bannermen in cold blood. Robb, Talisa, and even Catelyn fall. The king in the north is dead, and with him, the rebellion collapses. The Lannisters emerge triumphant, their power unchallenged for now, but their victory is paid for in betrayal, and the echoes of that night will haunt the realm forever. Season 4, The Fall of Kings and the Rise of Queens. The Lannisters reach the height of their power. With Tywin's firm hand guiding the realm, King's Landing prepares for a wedding that will solidify their hold on the throne. Joffrey Baratheon, cruel and arrogant, is set to wed Margaery Tyrell in a grand display of wealth and power. Nobles gather from across the kingdoms to witness the spectacle. But the celebration turns to chaos in an instant. As Joffrey mocks his guests and flaunts his malice one final time, he begins to choke violently. Before the horrified eyes of the court, he collapses and dies, poisoned, at his own wedding feast. The shocking event becomes known as the Purple Wedding. Cersei, consumed by grief and rage, points the finger at her brother Tyrion. He is dragged into a trial that quickly turns into a charade, with false witnesses and twisted accusations. Tyrion delivers a blistering speech against the hypocrisy of the court and demands a trial by combat. His champion, Oberyn Martell, the charismatic Prince of Dorne, seizes the chance to fight. Oberyn seeks vengeance against Sir Gregor Clegane, the Mountain, who brutally murdered his sister Aelia years ago. Their duel electrifies the court. Oberyn dances around the hulking knight, striking blow after blow, nearly achieving victory. But in his moment of triumph, he is caught off guard. The Mountain seizes him, crushing his skull in a horrific end. Tyrion's fate is sealed, but with Jaime's aid and Varys' cunning, he escapes. Before fleeing across the narrow sea, Tyrion confronts Tywin, killing his father with a crossbow in a shocking act of defiance that shatters the Lannister stronghold from within. Far in the north, the threat of the Wildlings erupts into open war. Jon Snow and the Night's Watch defend the wall in the epic battle of Castle Black. Giants, mammoths, and fierce warriors assault the fortress, and amidst the bloodshed, Jon is reunited with Ygritte only to lose her in his arms. Just as defeat looms, Stannis Baratheon arrives with his forces, capturing Mance Rayder and turning the tide. Across the sea, Daenerys Targaryen claims Meereen, the greatest of the slaver cities. Her rule begins with high hopes, but she soon learns that conquering is easier than governing. Slavery's legacy festers, rebellion rises, and her dragons, once symbols of hope, grow wild and dangerous, even killing a child. With a heavy heart, she chains 2 of them, unable to control the fire she unleashed. Elsewhere, Arya Stark finally breaks from Westeros, setting sail for Braavos with the coin given to her by Jaqen H'ghar, determined to learn the ways of the Faceless Men. Bran, guided by visions, reaches the cave of the ancient Three-Eyed Raven, where his destiny begins to unfold. The realm stands on shifting ground. The Lannisters, though powerful, are fractured, their enemies rising within and without. The war for the future of Westeros is far from over. Season 5, The High Sparrow and the Fall of Thrones. Cersei struggles to maintain control in King's Landing. She empowers a religious movement led by the High Sparrow, only for it to turn on her. Stripped, humiliated, and forced to walk naked through the streets, Cersei suffers her greatest fall, though her hatred only burns hotter. In the north, Stannis marches on Winterfell. Urged on by Melisandre's visions, in a moment that horrifies even his loyal men, he sacrifices his daughter, Shireen, to the flames. But when battle comes, his forces are crushed by the Boltons, and Stannis is killed. At the Wall, Jon Snow is elected Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. Seeking peace, he allows wildlings south of the Wall, but his brothers see it as betrayal. At Hardhome, Jon witnesses the true terror of the White Walkers as the Night King raises an army of the dead in a chilling display. Returning to the Wall, Jon is betrayed by his own men and stabbed repeatedly, left to die in the snow. Across the sea, Daenerys struggles to hold Meereen. The Sons of the Harpy rise in rebellion, nearly killing her. She escapes on the back of Drogon, her largest dragon, vanishing into the wilderness. Tyrion arrives in her absence, ready to serve. Arya trains in Braavos with the Faceless Men, but breaks their rules for personal vengeance, leaving her blind as punishment. Sansa, after being forced to marry Ramsay Bolton, suffers cruelty and torment at his hands. But with Theon Greyjoy's help, she escapes Winterfell, a spark of resistance against the Boltons. The great houses weaken, and the dead march closer. Season 6, Fire, Blood, and the Winds of Winter. Jon Snow is resurrected by Melisandre, returning to life after his betrayal. Gathering allies, he prepares to retake Winterfell from Ramsay Bolton. The Battle of the Bastards is brutal, with Jon nearly crushed under the weight of his enemies, but with Sansa's call for aid, the Knights of the Vale arrive, turning the tide. Ramsay is defeated, and the Starks reclaim Winterfell, executing their sadistic enemy. The North rises again, declaring Jon Snow the new king in the North. In King's Landing, Cersei plots revenge. On the day of her trial, she destroys the Sept of Baelor with wildfire, annihilating her enemies in one green explosion. Tommen, her last child, throws himself from a window in despair. Cersei takes the Iron Throne, crowned Queen of the Seven Kingdoms. Daenerys unites her forces, finally ready to sail for Westeros. With Tyrion as her hand, her unsullied Dothraki, and dragons at her back, she departs across the narrow sea. Bran becomes the Three-Eyed Raven, learning the truth of Jon Snow's parentage. He is not Ned Stark's son, but the child of Lyanna Stark and Rhaegar Targaryen, making him both ice and fire. Arya returns to Westeros, killing Walder Frey in a cold act of vengeance for the Red Wedding. The board is set for the ultimate collision of powers. Season 7, The Dragon and the Wolf. Daenerys lands in Westeros, taking Dragonstone as her seat. She begins her campaign against the Lannisters, but suffers losses to Cersei's cunning and Euron Greyjoy's fleet. However, with her dragons, she devastates the Lannister army on the battlefield in a fiery spectacle. Jon Snow, now king in the north, meets Daenerys. At first they clash, but soon they find respect and then something more. Together they seek to unite against the true threat, the Night King. Jon leads a desperate mission beyond the Wall to capture a White and prove the danger to others. The mission nearly ends in disaster until Daenerys arrives, on her dragon. But the Night King hurls an ice spear, killing Viserion, one of her dragons, who is later raised as an undead weapon. At King's Landing, Jon and Daenerys present the captured White to Cersei, who pretends to agree to fight the dead but secretly plots to betray them. Jaime, disgusted, finally abandons her. The season ends with Jon and Daenerys giving in to passion, unaware that Jon is her nephew, the true heir to the Iron Throne. Meanwhile, the Night King, riding the undead Viserion, breaches the wall with dragonfire, and the army of the dead marches south. Season 8, The Long Night and the Iron Throne. The endgame begins at Winterfell, where the living unite to make their last stand against the dead. Jon Snow, Daenerys Targaryen, Arya, Sansa, and the armies of the north gather with unsullied Dothraki and dragons at their side. The long night descends, cloaking the battlefield in darkness as the Night King leads his endless army of wights, giants, and white walkers against the castle walls. The Dothraki charge into the abyss and are swallowed almost instantly, their flaming erics snuffed out like candles. The dead swarm the defenses, overwhelming the living in a tide of terror. Brave souls fall, Ed Tollett of the Night's Watch, the fearless Lyanna Mormont who dies slaying a giant, and Ser Jorah Mormont, who gives his life defending Daenerys to his final breath. From the skies, Jon and Daenerys ride Rhaegal and Drogon, battling the Night King on Viserion in a clash of dragonfire and ice. On the ground, Theon Greyjoy redeems his broken past by defending Bran Stark in the Godswood, fighting until he is cut down by the Night King himself. But just as all hope seems lost, Arya Stark strikes. With a leap from the shadows, she plunges her blade into the Night King, shattering him into ice and ending his army in an instant. The war against the dead is won, but the cost is staggering. Thousands of soldiers gone, and the north left in ruin. With the great enemy defeated, Daenerys turns her gaze to the Iron Throne. Yet the losses she has suffered, Jorah, Missandei executed in chains at Cersei's command, and Rhaegal slain by Euron Greyjoy's scorpions, harden her resolve. The dream of a liberator fades as grief twists into rage. At King's Landing, her forces batter the city, and when the bells toll surrender, she makes her choice. Riding Drogon, Daenerys rains fire upon soldiers and civilians alike, reducing the city to ash. Innocent lives perish in the inferno, and Queen Cersei Lannister dies cradled by her twin Jaime as the Red Keep collapses around them. The Mad Queen has risen, and fear takes the throne. Jon Snow, torn between love for Daenerys and his duty to protect the realm, makes the ultimate sacrifice. In the shattered throne room, he embraces her one last time before driving a blade into her heart. Drogon, wailing in grief, melts the Iron Throne itself to molten ruin before carrying Daenerys' body away into legend. In the aftermath, Westeros seeks a new beginning. Tyrion Lannister persuades the lords to choose Bran Stark, the three-eyed raven, as king. Sansa declares the North free, crowned queen in the North. Arya sails west of Westeros, chasing the unknown. Tyrion resumes his role as Hand, burdened with rebuilding a broken realm. And Jon, exiled once more to the Night's Watch, rides into the far north with Ghost and the Wildlings, vanishing beyond the wall. Thus ends the Game of Thrones, not in triumph but in survival, with scars of the past and fragile hope for the future. And that is the complete journey of Game of Thrones. From the fall of Ned Stark to the rise of Bran the Broken, from the birth of dragons to their fiery end, from the terror of the White Walkers to the breaking of the wheel. It's a story of power, betrayal, love, and survival. A reminder that in the Game of Thrones, you win or you die. If you enjoyed this full recap, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more epic breakdowns, and tell us in the comments. Which moment from Game of Thrones shocked you the most? Winter may have come and gone, but the story lives forever. We'll see you in the next one.